Hey Emily, we're to order here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so.
You already are?
Yeah, we just did. Finish the stories. All right, so do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda, folks?
I have one, I just wanted to highlight in the agenda that you all got sent via electronic under 8B. I have since learned that October 9th was unavailable, so on the agenda that we have right here, that has been corrected. So the agenda you have in front of you are the only possible dates to meet with the VSBA consultant, but the one that was given to you in draft form ahead of time had October 9th, so I just wanted to
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. The only thing I had is, we had talked last time a little bit about agenda items for Wyndham's Rights and for school-based councils.
I'm going to take care of that underneath the administrative report, the MUUSD gathering in Montpelier.
All right. Well, I just figured even if we didn't necessarily discuss them tonight, we'd carry them forward then. But that's everything. That's the only thing I thought of. Anybody else? Perfect. We have a member of the public. Jerry, anything to say?
I'm here.
Thank you for coming. All right, so has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting, July 18th?
Yes.
Any corrections, additions, comments, or we could just have a motion to approve them?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting dated July 18th, 2017.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion on the minutes? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of July 18th, 2017. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. I don't have any correspondence. Bill, you got anything?
I do not have any correspondence.
Anyone else?
I can, is it in the-
Okay. All right, so the first item under new business is to create a negotiations council.
Okay, so under the law of Act 46, within 90 days of the creation of a new board, it is the responsibility of the board to engage an existing negotiations partner within 90 days. So what that means for this board is you have to create a negotiations council, and then that negotiations council needs to send a letter to any existing bargaining unit that you are currently under contract with amongst all of the gathering groups. Okay, so that means Brookline, Newfane, Wyndham, Jamaica,
But Dover and Wardsboro.
Newbrook.
Dover and Wardsboro too?
Well, so Dover and Wardsboro will be doing the exact same thing.
Wardsboro at least.
Right. Wardsboro, so that's what's interesting. Wardsboro is not part of WRED, okay?
Right.
But Wardsboro is part of your existing bargaining agreement. So they are going to create their new unit on the 22nd. So the responsibility of that new board will be to do exactly what we're talking about here, is within 90 days, they will just have to send a letter that says that you will start entertaining the negotiations. And then at that moment, I will get the two groups together so that it'll be one unit talking.
So the, how do I put it, the, exception that Dover has been operating under
Will have to be,
is gone, will eventually disappear at the expiration of their contract, and they will become part of the bargaining unit.
which
and
all
thus-
ends on June 30th.
And thus then complying with Act 153. Thank you.
Clarifying question. Each school currently has their own teachers union which bargains with? Or,
No.
So, everybody bargains, bargains with the Wyndham Central Education Association of the National Education Association, so WCEA-NEA. The Dover School District has been granted
Waiver?
an exception
Exception.
by the WCEA to create an agreement between the Dover School District and the members of the WCEA that are employed by the Dover School District. Okay. So the Dover School District will no longer exist.
I thought they were not union.
So in 2019, July 1st, 2019, Marlborough and Dover, which will become the River Valleys Education District, Wardsboro, Dover, sorry, will become the River Valleys Education District. And then they, because Wardsboro is currently a member of the bargaining unit that all of you are a member of, except for Wyndham,
I was just gonna say.
right?
And, right.
They
In this
negotiate
case,
their
just
own
with,
contracts.
Well, they aren't union. That's a distinct difference, and neither is Marlboro. So it's important to understand that
Those are-
Marlboro
yes.
and Wyndham have not organized under the Vermont NEA or the NEA.
Correct. So, once River Valleys becomes a school district, they will be under the same obligation as this board.
Okay.
And what happens with current negotiations with the WEA, NEA group there?
So those will continue, but they will not go beyond June 30th, 2019.
And they can't by law anyway.
Right.
Okay.
Right. More?
So we continue on with those negotiations as if nothing's happening.
As if you can't go
Well,
beyond.
Right.
that's not to do with us, though. That has
Right.
actually to do with Act 49, or not, I mean, it's not Act 49, it's the work we did at the end, and the legislature did in the veto session. The compromise included a provision that that the health insurance, teacher health insurance would be, there would be created a new once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So none of them can go beyond 2019. And then most contracts should come up that year. So if there is some decision after, the council that's going on right now, there's a commission that's working on investigating all the options around the benefits and pros and cons around a statewide teacher health insurance. If the legislature makes a decision at some point to move us in that direction, in 2019, most contracts will come up, if not all of them. Correct. Will come up. I think they probably all will. There may be one or two that went out to 2020, and they can actually, with agreement on both sides, make a decision to end theirs early if they want, but those would be probably grandfathered. But my question actually was more related to us. So tonight, we're creating a negotiations council. Do we actually need to name members to it, or do we just say we are reaching out from our?
You need to create a negotiations council of this school district. So normally, when you create a negotiations council, you name members to the negotiations council. However, the only action that must occur within 90 days is a letter from the negotiations council of this board to the existing bargaining unit of which this board, not this board, the school districts of which this board is made up of,
Soon to be.
soon to end, simply writes a formal letter of engagement to begin negotiation.
Okay. So we don't need to appoint members of the council, but we do need to organize a council,
Correct.
which is, I think, the key to this, right?
Right, so we'll need a motion that we create a council. You can choose not to name anybody to the council, and then you will direct the superintendent to draft a letter to be reviewed by more than likely the chair. And if legal counsel, it's probably beneficial to have legal counsel just review that, and then have that occur within 90 days.
So I'm happy to make that motion. I do believe we should absolutely form a negotiation council and send a letter to the River Valley.
You will send
and to this-
you will send a letter to the Wyndham Central Education Association.
That's my
Second.
motion.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Now,
to-
now we should discuss.
Now we can discuss it. So it's pretty much a formality. There's not going to actually be any negotiation that takes place between this board and that unit until closer to 2019 when we're actually taking things over and running things.
So your legal obligation is to
just
create
the
a-
council and okay.
and to, within 90 days, send a formal legal notice to the Wyndham Central Education Association to begin negotiations, whether that means you're not gonna talk for 12 months or not.
Okay.
So we can't actually negotiate a contract, and this is my perception of it. We can't actually, as a board, negotiate a contract until we are actually official, correct?
Well, you guys are official.
Well, official, but we're not, we're not.
We're not operating any
Operating.
school districts yet.
Until we're the
You are
government.
not operating.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Governing.
But
And
you're-
so I'm, it's a question.
Sure, yeah.
Can we actually enter into negotiations? In other words, there's ongoing negotiations right now.
Sure.
Between the exact same units.
Yes.
Can we actually enter into negotiations, or do we need to wait until we are operational?
So, one, I would say that we should clarify that with legal counsel.
Okay.
Because I don't want to assume, but I know that our legal obligation is within 90 days, we have to send a letter. And I also know that in speaking with the attorney about this, it is the absolute assumption that negotiations must occur prior to operations, because
And people at work.
the current negotiating agreement cannot go beyond.
June 30th, right, that's, no.
Go ahead, Astrid.
Right, yeah, because if it lapses on June 30th and we don't
We
have
don't
anything in
have a
place for after
Right.
that, then. yeah,
We need more.
Sounds like.
So I think there'll be two groups.
Yeah.
One that's gonna do one till June 30th, 2019, which is currently in existence. And then one that this group, more than likely, is going to talk to the River Valleys School District about creating a joint negotiations group to engage the WCEA.
Yes.
So we have a next item on the agenda, inquiring with the attorney about July 1st, 2018 start date. That would also, I'm not worried about this.
Yeah.
But I do think that we need to be conscious of the fact that if we are actually gonna consider, becoming operational earlier, that would really maybe even impact current negotiations, meaning that, when their end date is of those current negotiations. So I think we just have to be really conscious of all the possibilities here and make sure we leave our options open and just, I feel pretty strongly that we need to say, yes, we are, as a board and an entity, going to form a negotiations council to negotiate with our teachers' union. And that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they'll be waiting for that, I would hope. I don't want to leave anything hanging.
No, no,
And
no.
we have the 90 days, so.
Right. So we'd have to do it, I mean, we've been in existence now for 30 days, so we're on a good time.
So can we modify that to say the new negotiations team will come into play as required by law, or as, because you can't actually set a date till you know.
So you are legally required within the 90 days to create a negotiations council and send a letter of
And to send
engagement.
the letter of engagement.
all.
That's it.
Details.
That was my motion.
So,
There's
so.
no date.
the-
Right.
Right, okay.
Except the date of the motion.
Okay.
So let's just keep
Right.
it simple, right?
Yeah.
I think so,
Yeah.
that's my point.
Yeah.
So we'll worry about it when the
Just an aside on this, not that we're picking people, but my wife is a teacher. I would assume that I would have to recuse myself for this as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anybody
Mhm.
I am
else?
also a teacher at Dover, so I can.
Narrows the
Right,
field.
I'll make it.
Okay.
Hi, Joe.
Our folder.
When you're asking,
I can't do para-contract or support staff.
I can do it all.
which I think we need to also think about how, I mean, the negotiations are starting fresh and new. We don't know what they're gonna look like. I mean, right now, we have 3 contracts at Leland Gray, because we also have
Right.
co-curricular. And most of you just have the support staff, some don't even have support staff. But, so I think that's something that could change, because some schools aren't organized for support staff. And so I think it's really important that we do keep it open and, you know, but while you're asking the questions, I'm wondering about whether if we wanted, could Nancy actually even participate as a negotiating member? If Nancy said, I volunteer to be on the negotiations council to negotiate the contract, could she actually do that? Perfectly fine, one way or the other. I just think that we need to have because Wyndham is not organized and not operating under that contract. I mean, they could organize, they may organize, but right now they're not.
But that Leland and Gray part of their
That's,
thing.
that's true.
I didn't hear what you
So,
said,
the
Pam.
Leland
That's
and
a good
Gray
point.
part
They are.
of it, how do you separate out
So there's the other
the
question.
Leland and Gray portion that she could
Mhm.
be part of and maybe should?
Which is really, it's
Yeah,
complicated.
well, and the
So-
contract doesn't
So we're hoping
delineate
that Bill's
between
gonna
Wyndham
give
and
us some
Gray.
information about that, because he came out of a meeting.
Yeah, I've gotten an update on that.
Okay. There's a lot of questions around this. That's why I think we should keep it light and simple.
Yeah, very
We
basic.
get
Form the
this.
committee, send the notice, and there we are.
Right.
Anything else? Any more discussion? All
Call
right.
the question.
Yeah. Say that.
No need. It's been moved and seconded to create a negotiations council and send the required notice to the WCEA. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it.
Were 2 people recused from that vote?
No,
No.
Not the,
Not the vote,
Foreman.
no.
no. So as part of, you know, implied in that motion, Bill, is your part to, you know, put together the outreach to the WCEA and
And the River Valley.
follow the legalities of it, and then once the River Valley
Yep.
District forms, we should talk to them.
Yep.
When do they form officially?
They got word today that, and it was warned today, that they will have their meeting on September 22nd, 3 o'clock, Wardsboro Town Hall, and the meeting will be opened by the governor.
Wow.
Wow.
wow. Well, we had you.
They rate the governor?
Right, you guys have
We had Bill. Come on. They rate the governor? Ah.
They didn't even get the Secretary of Education.
Yeah.
We had
But
Bill,
we had Bill.
and he did a great job.
Which is an honor for us.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right.
Because Bill comes to all our meetings. I bet the governor doesn't come to all their meetings. So anyway. So the next item, the inquire with the attorney about the July 1st, you know, the possible early start of this board taking over the school districts. Did you have that conversation?
So I got preliminary information that because the warning for each of your towns is inclusive of the date of the start, it would require each of your towns to
Vote.
revote.
Well, I can see just one problem after another with that.
They'd be
Could they
really
revote
happy
not
about
to do
that.
it at all?
I'm sorry?
Could they revote not to do it at all, or would that depend upon how?
Well, the warning would have to be very specific
Worded.
to,
Carefully.
you'd have to unwind the date that you voted on. I mean, I just got I didn't want to go too deep, but a vote would be necessary in each individual town at minimum.
So it could be just a vote to say our dates for operation will be moved from July 1st, 2019 to July 1st, 2018.
I would
I
have
mean,
to,
that's just,
Thereby.
I would hope they would be that simple, but I have not asked that specific
I
question.
think it could.
Why would we want to do this?
Yes, how important is it that we do that?
Why?
There can be some great value in doing that in the sense that the budget creation and the direction that this board will be taking, there's a lot of value in creating the budget and the plan that you will then be responsible for carrying out.
Question, Wyndham,
We'll get to that in a second.
well, how would they vote on that? Do they do?
Well, I don't know. I didn't go down that
I
road.
didn't go down that road
Well,
yet.
Wyndham is the same as they always have been. I mean, they would still have to vote for the high school part, the
Right.
7 through 12.
So I guess the big advantage would be then the ability for this board to have the operational power of
So
the
we need to be
world
ready
beginning
in
July
less than a
1st,
year.
2018 instead of July 1st, 2019.
Plus
Yeah.
we'd be a year earlier on tax relief, we'd be on all of that, right? All of that would roll back?
So I don't know for
Yeah,
sure.
in theory.
But
Right, if
in
you're-
theory,
Yeah.
that could be possible, yeah.
I would think too that just running two boards at the same time, it's probably a little confusing to the public, and I would think the sooner the better, just because you're running so many boards, there's so many people to be serving on boards, and perhaps that would just be a little more efficient.
We'll save money on board salaries. How's that?
My concern is preparation, being ready to assume it by that date. Is that
Trial by fire.
a concern at all? Are we going to have everything in place to do that?
I will say that there are examples across the state where the exact same timeline that is hypothetical right here is actually in place. To our south, that is the timeline for Wyndham Southwest. So,
So do you need direction or anything on that, or?
well,
As far as-
I would want the board to direct me to inquire deeper to the attorney about the steps necessary.
I'll make a motion.
I have a-
Wait,
my hand up
let
for-
I'm sorry.
Emily speak
Go ahead.
before you make.
Go ahead.
So, in answer to Nancy's question, I think, first of all, but that wasn't what I wanted to speak about, but I'll just respond to that, because I think that it's really important to recognize that we as a SU, not just as our board, but as our multiple boards working together as an SU, over the last few years, have been really focused on the future. And we've been having conversations about moving forward. Some districts need extra time because some of them are even merging more than one SU. So there are bigger challenges around it. I'm one of the people who've been asking this question about whether we can move it up for multiple reasons. One is that I'm less worried about whether we can be ready here because we are very used to working together. We understand what our communities want because we've engaged them thoroughly. We know the dynamics because we've been through this, especially this board. We've been through this even with the red proposal. So I think we're a little farther ahead. So I'm less worried about that, although we actually have to be prepared, obviously, if we're gonna make that decision. What I am worried about, and I continue to mention this, is that at Leland and Gray, which is, nearly half of our SU, right? Our numbers are, we're 45% or 40
So
something
Leland and
percent.
Gray is half of
47%.
this.
Well, I'm saying, as an SU, Leland and Gray has, now I know our enrollment has declined, and so we used to be at about 50%
Yeah.
of Wyndham Central.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the boards that merged, but I'm saying Wyndham Central. And so that's a large portion of what our dollars are going out, and we are struggling at Leland and Gray mightily with what our future looks like, and most of all, and this is the reason I bring it up, with membership on our board. Now, we have an opening at Leland and Gray from Brookline and have had for, now we're in our second year. We can't find anybody to attend or to be appointed from, or be elected from Brookline. We now have an opening in Newfane, and we know absolutely, because we were just told at our last meeting last week, that one of our Newfane members is up this year and it will not run again. So that means 2 openings at Newfane. And we have had a mighty struggle with getting quorums even to be able to hold meetings. Joe can attest to this, he's trying to chair that meeting. And so I brought this up because I'm quite concerned, because Leland Gray is facing some pretty big challenges right now, and we're all gonna be intimate with it as time goes on. But I want to make sure we're giving Leland and Gray and our communities that are part of Leland and Gray the best chance they have of coming up with solutions to the challenges that we're facing, so that we are serving our children in the best way we can and meeting the needs of taxpayers. So I bring it up only because of that, and I would encourage the board to encourage Bill to actually continue to research this. Because while it sounds scary that it has to be a vote of the 5 towns, if it can be just limited to we want to become operational a year early, and if that benefits our kids, and if that benefits our communities, I think we can overcome that challenge. Gosh knows, we've done plenty of votes in our communities. So I just don't want to shut the door on it because it's a challenge. I think we really need to be thinking about this. I'm very worried about it.
I'm questioning it on the basis of hearing over and over how much we have to accomplish in the 2 years.
Yeah.
So, if that's possible, fine, but I've heard from a number of corners that that's a lot of work in 2 years. We have to have a lot in place, but if it can be done in a year,
I think it's maybe even less for us than it will be for the other 2, the other side. And then if we do a 2 by 2 by 1, you know, all of them have to be a part of it, right? So, I mean, we can't become operational, am I right, without the other side being operational?
Well, that would be a question.
That would be another question.
So,
I suspect.
because we are a side by side.
Yeah, I feel confident that it would have to, everybody would have to be 2018. So that would
So-
mean the possibility of every single community voting.
And I know Wyndham is going through a alternative governance structure process, and so is Marlboro. And I'm,
well, at
The
least we
timeline,
could
so.
direct you to inquire further.
No, I mean, I'd love to provide high-quality information to the board so that you guys can make an informed decision.
I think it's worth it.
I agree.
The rest of the board has to decide.
Wanna make a motion now, Ken?
Sure, I'll make a motion for the superintendent to look into further detail of what it's gonna take to form or have the board go into action a year early.
We need to mention attorney, contact an attorney, because that would cost.
Yeah, probably, you know,
Should his motion include
Attorney?
contacting an attorney?
Definitely, because it's gonna be money.
Right. That's
Work
why
with the
I
attorney,
said
work with the state, work with everybody you have to.
Well, yes,
Everything you just said,
plus
in consultation with.
with the attorney, because
I think it should.
and make sure the attorney does it right the first time, that we don't have to keep going back.
We have a good attorney.
This is all being done the first time, so this is good.
No, we have a good attorney, it's just.
We need
that
a second for
I will
Ken's
second.
motion. Seconds all over the place. All right, any further discussion on that? No? All right, it's been moved and seconded to have Bill work with council and to look into further to becoming operational a year early. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions? All right, the ayes have it. So this is your administrative report on the MUUSD gathering in Montpelier.
So I was fortunate enough to go up to Montpelier to meet at with the Vermont School Boards Association, the Vermont School Board Investment Trust, the Vermont Superintendents Association, and we had 4 supervisory unions. represented with the one supervisory union, which is Chittenden East Supervisory Union, which is the only current operating MUD under Act 46.
Thank you.
And they are organized where they have one pre-K through 12 district and one pre-K through 6 district, which makes them a MUD. So they are very similar to this group, but they don't have the side, they don't have Stratton, they don't have Marlboro. But in terms of this discussion, they're very similar to you guys. And they started operations in 2015. And so they have had 2 years of seeing what this world is like. So we got to go up and ask questions, and we got to get some things clarified. I brought up the questions that I got from you guys last time. I took these notes, but basically there were 4 major things that I'll report on to you guys, and you guys can ask clarified questions, if that's okay. Is there another copy? Or did I make enough copies? Okay, good. No, as long as, I just want to make sure you got it.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Good.
I got it.
So the big question was Wyndham's rights, because, and it's not Wyndham, it's the group that makes it a MUD, okay? So they are a full member with voting rights on 7 through 12. So that was important. They are a full member of the MUD, but they get voting rights on 7 through 12 issues. The example from CESU is just like we have talked before, that they technically, you're confined to discussion and voting of 7 through 12 issues, but what they have done is that anytime there's going to be something specific to 7 through 12, they make sure that they put that on the agenda. So there's a delineation. We will be having some sort of action or discussion that is a 7 through 12 issue. So what their approach that is taken, and the example I would use is having Nancy right here, is that if they're going to discuss something 7-12 and Nancy has some thoughts, Nancy would share them. Now, that's how they have decided to set themselves up. This board could decide that that technically is a public comment, and that those comments should only be done during the public comment period. This board in operation for 2 years has found that as a neighbor and sending their kids to 7 through 12, even if there's a discussion that's pre-K through 12 or elementary specific, that having that person be fully informed is beneficial to everybody. And so they have chosen to just operate what they believe is a common sense aspect of allowing the board to have full discussion, but when it comes to a vote, that
Okay.
the person does not vote. So they do not have bylaws that say that. They just operate under a common sense board operations, and they leave it up to the board chair, which has never come into play, to have that delineation. And that's that last bullet that, again, I could confer with legal counsel if you wanted me to clarify or get another answer about the public comment versus the discussion. In Chittenden East, they have not found that to be any challenge whatsoever, because they welcome the knowledge that is being gained, because they don't know what the future is going to look like. At any time, there could be a vote. At any time, there could be a full member. Why would you want to not have the knowledge grow through time? So that has been their approach.
Does that,
Please.
executive sessions? Would she be involved in any executive sessions?
That's a great question.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
I didn't ask that question. However, I would say that that would fall under a normal executive session rules, where the board gets to invite people into executive session that they feel are necessary to the discussion. But I can clarify that.
It's gonna be a
If
long
it's a
consultation.
personnel matter for Jamaica Elementary, just say. That's a maybe, I don't know, you
Right,
tell
right, I
me.
know what you're saying, exactly.
But if it was a high school staff member,
There would be no
That would-
question.
There would be no question.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's what I learned about the pre-K through 6. Does anybody have any questions I probably won't be able to answer?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I like the fact that Chittenden East is operating that way. I think that's very useful for all the communities that are involved, and I would encourage us to really seriously consider that trust and,
They've done it for 2 years, they've had no challenge.
thank you.
It makes sense to me.
They thought that creating bylaws would be limiting rather than allowing the knowledge to increase for the board.
We've worked closely together for many years, so no reason why we can't keep going.
And legally, it's very clear. It's just voting on 7 through 12.
I actually do have a question. So our budget will then be kept separate, that I'm assuming, I don't know, maybe that's part of this.
Well, there'll be a
There'll be two
pre-K through
separate-
12 budget that
Right.
carves out
Right.
Wyndham.
So, but we've known this for many years and we've talked about this, but I just wanna make sure that it's clear to everybody that if we didn't form an MUUSD, if we had formed a regional education district, we would have one budget for pre-K-12.
Correct.
But because we formed an MUUSD, we actually have to have 3 budgets because Wyndham needs their own pre-K-12, pre-K-6. Our MUUSD needs a pre-K-6, and then we need a 7-12.
Yes, I believe that's how it's gonna have to play out, because otherwise, if you have a pre-K through 12 and then just carve out Wyndham, you don't see how it all plays tax rate wise.
And our board only deals with 2 of those 3 budgets, right?
Yes.
This
Wyndham
board will
pre-K-6,
will deal
we
with
Right.
just
We
2 of those.
Right, we'll deal with the pre-K 6
And
for
so
everybody.
that's a great example. So during the discussion on the pre-K through 6 budget, Nancy can't vote, or the Wyndham representative cannot vote, but under the common sense operational, there might be something to learn from having that person part of the discussion.
Right, because it's very possible we will be sharing staff. Who knows? I don't know whether it'd be sharing staff with Wyndham and one of our school districts, but there may very well be
And it would
sharing
just
staff.
come
And
down
why
to
would we
approving the
not
budget
want
would
Wyndham
be
to
the
participate in that conversation? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is all new. Fun territory. Okay, number 2. Does the WRED have to accept Wyndham? So this is a fascinating conversation because this is one of those legal questions that we had the legal representation from the AOE, who used to be the legal for Legislative Council during the creation of Act 46. And then we have Act 49, which really clarified when a district currently exists, they get $10,000 to accept a district, which kind of puts into question whether, so technically, right now, you guys are in an existing district. You have created, you have formed, you are the WRED. It is the opinion of the lawyers that were discussing it, that you, the district, cannot be forced after March 31st, 2018, to accept Wyndham as part of your district.
That's what I thought too.
And it's not even you, it's your townspeople. So in your articles of agreement, at any point before March 31st, 2018, the Wyndham people, citizens, can petition for a vote to join the WRED as a full-fledged pre-K through 12 member, and you must accept them after March 31st, 2018. It's the opinion of the attorneys that if they do that, you would get to choose whether to accept them.
Are you saying that they can petition outside of the board's influence? If somebody just wanted to put together a petition to
Any
become members?
community member can start
Yes.
petitioning,
Yeah.
that wouldn't have anything to do with the board.
Yeah. The board could also,
The board could do it.
the board could do it, or it's just like a board could do it, and the
Right.
petition could do it.
Right.
The key is it's March 31st, 2018. That's what's written, voted on in the article of agreement.
And the
then it
acceptance
would
or the
go-
non-acceptance of the petition, of Wyndham petitioning, that's our towns or the board itself?
It's the towns. It is
So
not.
then it would be a town vote, okay.
You gotta
Come on up
with
here,
it, but
buddy.
you can't-
I'm just taking up a lot of space.
The towns would vote, and it's a commingled vote
Oh, that's my question.
to say yes. And Wyndham would get to vote in that. So everybody would vote. Does that make sense? Please, this is very particular to you. Yeah.
The other towns wait until after Wyndham votes to find out if Wyndham even wants to do this?
So
Everyone wouldn't be voting together
So
on the same day.
pre-March 31st, 2018, it's a pure Wyndham decision. Okay? Wyndham gets a petition, Wyndham holds a vote. Again, you'd have to have 30 days of a reconsideration of that vote. That's always allowed. After March 31st, 2018, if Wyndham decided through petition by the board or petition by the people,
Right?
Wyndham would vote. Let's say Wyndham votes yes, 30 days pass, there is no reconsideration vote, then there would be a commingled vote of everybody to decide if they wanted to accept Wyndham.
Right.
Which Wyndham would also vote in,
Correct.
okay.
Yes.
So if Wyndham hasn't done anything or made any decisions by the point where the state decides, the agency of education decides we're going to do something with Wyndham,
Yes.
if they put them with us, we would have to accept them?
So that was the very curious legal question. So
Yes.
you've got, the State Board of Education has been charged, the Secretary of Education has been charged in Act 46 with coming up with a statewide plan in 2018, okay? And they are supposed to consider the regional and all the goals of Act 46 and regional influences. There's a term, but I'm not saying it correctly. Before Act 49, it was assumed that a situation like a MUD, you could just place them with it. But because Act 49 had very specific language that said an existing district will get $10,000 if they accept, and in Act 46 it says an existing district does not have to accept,
It's the date.
then it appears that even if the state plan occurs, an existing district would have to say yes.
And is that by a vote of the people?
It is always by the vote of the people, of a commingled.
Interesting.
We'll take the $10,000.
But why would they have to vote if the agency of education decided this is the plan?
So I think prior to Act 49, when it wasn't clarified about an existing district getting $10,000, if they accept it, and here's the thing, is the concept was, imagine it was two K6s that got together, and they have 7 through 12 choice. And they were rocking and they were rolling, and there was another K6 that was 20 miles away. This was to protect that group that followed Act 46, that did all the work, from a year later being forced to accept someone else. So it was the protection for the groups that have followed through on Act 46.
Okay.
A MUD is just the interpretation of that with a MUD is just very unique. So, quite frankly, it could, it's unclear because no one has challenged it yet, right? So
Okay.
there's competing language.
Interesting.
Okay.
Gets
It was
muddier and
fascinating. I mean, they
muddier.
loved when I asked that question because they're like, oh, gee.
Their heads started to turn.
Yeah. My guess is they will figure out and say something prior, but they're gonna wait till the legislature gets back in session so they can have those discussions, but there'll be clarity. Right now, the clarity is March 31st, 2018. Wyndham is in complete, the Wyndham citizens are in complete control of their decision-making power. After that, it becomes.
Around
Around.
reading this,
Uh-huh.
as a full member.
Correct. After that, it becomes a little murky
Or muddy.
or muddy.
Okay.
Okay, so is everybody okay with bullet point number 2? All right, thank you. That's good.
Okay.
Bullet point, or bold number 3, we talked about that, okay? And then bold 4 is what we already talked about.
I got a question with that. It says, you know, letter from negotiating council to association. Would it be the WEA-NEA?
The WCEA, NEA is the association.
Is it, so that's who that letter goes to? It doesn't go to the towns
That's
that
correct.
are in the district?
That is correct.
Okay.
So that was my update from that very long meeting.
Okay.
Wow.
Brief, concise, we like it. And informative.
If we were to step up to 2018, we would have to give the NEA time to change how they have who are their representatives. And we would have to consider the time frame they have for voting on who are their building reps and who are the president of their association, correct?
All our responsibility is to engage with the Wyndham Central Education Association. How they organize themselves is completely up to them.
And we couldn't move forward without engaging with them.
Correct.
Let's face it,
Yeah.
and we would
Yeah.
want to engage with them.
Yeah.
So, you know, if it couldn't work out,
Right.
then we couldn't do it. But
Good question.
I have one more question. So if we did decide to start July 1st, 2018, that wouldn't change any of this allowing Wyndham and
Nope,
No.
those dates are
their,
ready to go.
okay.
Unless you guys did a vote that asked to change those dates. Just like you would change the operational date,
Oh.
right?
Wow. Oh,
Right.
yeah.
But under current articles of agreement that have been voted on and warned,
Okay.
no, it would not.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Moving along. So, under old business, you have the letter from the board in support of the 2x2x1 action. They just
So,
want a formal letter.
They want a
instead of our
formal letter
vote?
from the chair of this board.
Okay.
They will be presenting to the State Board of Education on September 20th. And they are finalizing their proposal tomorrow night. So they just wanted to be able to include, when they send up a packet to the State Board of Education, a letter from the River Valleys Education District and a letter from the West River Education District.
saying
Isn't that the 30th of September and not the 20th?
They're meeting in September 20th.
Okay.
30th is
Is
the August
August.
meeting, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we direct the chair to write a letter explaining our
In-
process that we already actually did
Yes.
with the vote.
Right.
So, do you know what I mean?
Yes, I mean, we discussed
But
this
already
and we
voted
were in
on this.
support
I just
of
want to put it in writing
doing
and
it,
send it to
so-
them so they can use it in their packet.
Correct.
So that's my motion. to Have the chair write that letter.
I'll second that motion once it's clarified.
What do you need for clarity?
So it's gonna be your having Joe write a letter in support of a 2x2x1.
To explain the action we already took.
Okay, good. Yep, I'll second that. Okay, just want to be clear.
Okay. Any discussion on that? All right. It's been moved and seconded to have the chair write a letter in support of Marlboro's 2x2x1 proposal. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Okay. So apparently, we we have some proposed dates from the VSBA consultant to start working with us on our, sort of focusing us on becoming the West River education district
Well-oiled machine that we hope to be.
that we will become, yes.
That's right.
So I guess we just need like 2 dates.
2, really?
Well,
That
I
we
mean,
can do
they're
it?
all very tight. I mean, so my get, if we could come away with one date out of that group of 5, then what I would ask the consultant is to lock down that date and then ask for another grouping of dates for a second meeting.
Oh, okay.
Unless you, I mean, I don't think you, unless you want to meet like the 17th and 30th.
Oh, I thought these were etched in stone as all these meetings.
I do
It's like,
too.
oh my God, it's
Yeah.
gonna be
So I mean, you
busy
can,
October.
as of this morning, those 5 dates are open. So if the board wishes to pick 2 of those dates, the board could do that. I mean, it's your
I'd
call.
like to pick the 17th and the 30th, just throwing it out there, those 2 I'm available. I just wanted to mention that I don't think this is going to happen, I'm still not sure, but it's looking less and less likely, but there is a potential special session for the legislature in the week of the 23rd to the 27th. I don't know if it's gonna happen.
So
Not
the
confirmed,
17th
won't
is
know
a
till-
Tuesday, the 30th is a Monday.
I'm just trying to get 2 dates in.
Yeah.
I can do any of them if they're not. If there's no session. If there's a session, I can't do for a week.
Yeah.
So first and second meeting, 17th and the 30th?
I can do
It was
that.
just, I was just throwing it out.
Okay, Drew cannot do the 17th. Can anybody else not do the 17th?
I can do both those days.
All right, so let's start with the 30th. Can everybody do the 30th?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, so 30th is a go.
Okay.
All right, what about the 23rd? And again, following up on what Emily just said.
What day of the week is that?
Monday.
I will know. When's our next meeting?
September 18th.
Yeah.
I'll know by then, for sure. We're just waiting for,
And our meeting in October would be the 16th.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it would be 3 weeks in a row.
It'd be 23rd, 16, 23, 30. I could do the 23rd.
from the legislature or whatever.
Can you do the 23rd, Drew?
Yes.
So everybody but you,
I mean,
and yours is
and-
in flux.
And if we don't, if we have a special session that week, I don't even know if we'll be in on Monday. You know,
Okay.
we typically start on Tuesdays.
6 to
But the
9?
special session.
Is that too heavy for you guys? 6 to
Where?
9?
Where? Here?
Here.
6 to 9 here.
Done longer.
Now, are we talking about all 3 of these?
So it would be
23rd,
the,
30th?
I would suggest to the board the 23rd and the 30th from 6 to 9 to engage the VSBA
Okay.
consultant.
Okay. Does that work for everybody? Okay.
Okay, I'll email her.
I have one question before we leave that
I
topic.
will bring dinner.
Can you tell us in a general way what topics will be covered at those meetings? Or don't you know? Yeah.
It will be a continuation of the original conversations that you guys had. I did do a pre-meeting with the VSBA consultant, who's actually the executive director, and their new education consultant, so we'll get a 2-for-1, but only have to pay for one, which is kind of nice. And we kind of went over the experience of this board and the desire for this board to dig into creating the mindset of creating a new district and not going back to, what does it mean to show up on time for a board meeting and things of that nature. So that's the level of discussion we've had now, but we will have, almost 2 months advance notice, so.
It's not unreasonable to have some sort of an agenda
Right.
to us, enough in advance so that we could tweak it if we wanted.
That would be my,
By
Oh.
the September meeting, perhaps.
okay, I will email Miss Mace. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bill. Okay. Creation of a Buildings and Grounds Committee.
So I put this on here because I think it's incredibly important for us to start getting a taste of what are the assets that this board's gonna be responsible for. And I don't think it's too early to have this board create a subcommittee of really interested people to start diving into that work, so that we can get a really clear picture of what we're all gonna be responsible for. And so I would just really highly encourage, I think, you know, Ken's a great example of he's dived into the policy work and made it very efficient for us. And I think we should do that in buildings and grounds, and we're probably gonna end up doing that in a variety of areas. But I think now is the time to find out where we're at.
How many boards, how many of the current boards have existing buildings and grounds committees? I mean, Leland and Gray does.
That is the only board
That's the only board.
that has I mean, take Townsend, for example. All 5 of the people are highly versed in what's going on. What I'm talking about is, you know, a small group of this to then dive into, you know, if we need to know what's happening with Townsend, we need to know what's the capital plan, we need to know what the state of the building is, what are the grounds, what's going down with Jamaica, you know.
Right, I understand. Go ahead, Emily.
Are you making the same recommendation for the other merged district?
Yes, absolutely.
Because that would be very helpful, I think, because for many years, we at Wyndham Central have been talking about, and never actually put the money into doing it, but talking about having a building and grounds, a maintenance person, sort of at the SU level. I wouldn't want to close the conversation because of efficiency around that, and it would be helpful if we were going to form a building committee, and they did the same thing as well, and maybe even try to bring in, you know, Wyndham and Marlboro if they're gonna stay in our SU, so that we can continue to have that conversation. I'm just trying to make it more efficient and effective, the way we maintain our buildings across the SU. So
Well, and I
it's a
think
good idea.
creating this would
That's what
spark
I'm-
some real
Step in the
depth of
direction.
knowledge of,
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
So the Leland and Gray committee, you work heavily in conjunction with the business manager, I would assume, because a lot of that's information that
Business
we wouldn't
manager,
have readily available.
superintendent, some of the internal.
Right, so I
Home
mean,
meeting,
Bob.
business manager
yeah,
there,
they have a regular
consultants
meeting,
sometimes there.
they're engaging, you know.
Hmm. Okay.
So do we need a motion to create that committee, and then we can look for volunteers?
Yeah, I mean, I would create an official subcommittee of
Okay.
this
I would be
board.
happy to make a motion to form a building committee for our board.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconds everywhere again. All right, any further discussion? No, everybody likes the idea? All right, it's been moved and seconded to create a buildings committee, buildings and grounds committee, whatever we're gonna call it, of this board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the ayes have it. And now the fun part, volunteers.
I'll do it.
Drew, Al? Any other volunteers?
A woman, Judy Stefan.
Hey, if we have 2, I'm happy, that's great. You can join later.
I would volunteer, but I don't wanna make it a boys' club here.
Well, I'm
And the
I-
officers
I'm
to
on the
boot.
building committee at Leland and Gray, and I'm more than happy to do it, except I'm very worried I wouldn't be around in the winter time, so that's why I'm not
We
involved.
can track you down.
Yeah, I'm not on the
Why don't we
building
just
committee
hold-
at Leland and
we
Gray,
don't
but
need-
I would certainly interface with them.
I'm not on the, I'm off this board as of town meeting.
Yeah, I understand. So I'll be happy to go to the meetings. What the heck?
Okay, so now that you're an official subcommittee, you have to remember, you guys are gonna have to, you know,
You're operating on the
Joe
same rules as the
and-
board.
Right.
Who's the other one? Al.
Al,
Okay.
we're operating what now?
You
Under the
gotta-
same rules as
you gotta
the
post
same open
agendas,
meeting
you
law
gotta-
as the
Oh, yeah.
board. Warn meetings, take minutes. Oh,
so I'm gonna count on the 3
There'll
of
be a
you
meeting at Bill's office with beer.
to decide when you wanna have your first meeting, let me know, okay? and then I will assist you in creating an agenda, warning it appropriately. Okay, but somebody at the meeting will have to take minutes and we'll have to, Okay. Which will be valuable because it's
Yeah.
gonna be,
We can't hire somebody to take minutes?
of course you can.
Rich, you want to come film some more meetings?
You know, like you might wanna meet before this meeting, you know what I mean? Make it simple, and we can talk with Peter.
At
Make a
some-
lot of sense.
At some point, I think it would be very helpful, down the road for whether it's just the building committee or whether it's the whole board to really get to know the buildings that are part of this board. And so sometimes that requires outside look too, and many of our meetings are in the evening, and in the summertime, that's not such a big deal, but I don't know whether this building committee has the ability to work, I know you probably do, could find some time during the day, but I hope it would be something that folks would, on this committee, could find time during the day to meet at schools too. Down the road, not now. Just trying to give you that note. And if someone officially can't make it to those meetings, maybe the rest of the board could be notified in case somebody else could take their place.
A stand-in, yeah,
I think it's important to get into the building.
I agree.
Can one of the three of you decide right now who's gonna be the person who just is in conversation with me? Before your first, you know what I mean? Can one of you take,
Make a chair.
okay,
Create a chair, you guys.
great, you're the chair.
Drew's
All
the
right.
chair.
All right, so Drew, you're gonna reach out to the team, you're gonna let me know what a meeting is, and I'll be your conduit.
Excellent.
And make sure
Okay.
the whole board knows.
He probably has the hardest schedule to work around too, so it's good that he's doing that. True.
Okay.
All right, so we have a whole bunch of policies that are going to be warned for adoption. These are all required policies. I believe we have copies here if anybody wants to take a look at them. They're also online if you don't want the paper. And then, Ken, you want to talk about them?
You want a copy?
As the policy committee guy?
I got them in line.
Okay. Huh?
You want to talk about them as the policy guy?
Those are next week's, Drew. Here's the ones we're going over today. Those are for next month. Basically, we already all approved these policies either at, the high school, the WCSU, or any elementary school. So basically, it's just
So
the
under
same
A-
policies that we've already warned at each school district
Yeah.
anyway.
Under A, the ones that are to be warned, those are all existing policies in every school district within the districts that make up.
Right, it's, well, there's only one A,
West River.
yeah.
No, he means little.
Little a, little A1, little A2, little
Lowercase
A3, ABCs, all of those.
Under
No,
one, two,
where's-
three.
what am I looking at here?
And then the ones under B that say to be looked over, recommendation and discussion, that's C8, 9, 10, and D3 and 4. Those you wanna look at and then we'll warn them next month?
Right, those are gonna be the homework for next month, is
Okay.
C8, 9, 10, D3, and D4.
Okay, and those are existing policies as well?
Yes.
but That gives us a month to read the policies, ask questions if we want to, and then we can warn them next time.
Right.
Okay. Anybody have any thoughts about any of these policies, or we could just have a motion to warn them all?
I make a motion to warn these 15 policies.
Second.
All right, any discussion on a specific policy? Nothing, okay. No. All right, it's been moved and seconded to warn for adoption, policies A1, B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6, B7, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, and C7. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the ayes have it. Okay, so we'll be voting on adopting those at the next meeting, so that there's still an opportunity for somebody to comment on those. And then we'll be looking at warning, for adoption, the other 5, C8, 9, 10, D3, and 4. Which we have copies of, you can take home, review, ask questions, whatever.
Just a quick thing.
Sure.
So I'm gonna be gone tomorrow. Can you contact Meg? to, just to let her know to post those 15 and,
I already talked to her to post them after this meeting,
awesome.
but I will reaffirm that.
She'll probably need to type in on that top line, just our West River Education District.
Right.
Thanks, Ken.
Yes,
All right.
Betty.
That was
Question.
hugely helpful.
So the ones for next month,
It's
are
just the
they
names as well.
as well ones that have already been adopted at,
Yes,
Other
all these,
districts,
all,
they're just-
every policy I'm gonna give you
they
for
exist?
next week, or for next month and the following month are all required policies that we all have already.
Okay.
Can you ask Meg just to copy the board when she warns them?
Yes.
Thank you, Greg.
Will she warn them as West River Education District or West River Modified Union School District, as is written in the policies?
Great question.
I didn't hear your question, Al.
In each of the policies, it says West River Modified Union School District,
So
as opposed to
that's the
West River.
legal,
Yeah,
so she'll warn them as West River Modified Union
Yes,
School
I
District.
have already done that.
But then we just drop it and call ourselves West River Education District.
Yes, we do.
Because it's less words to say.
Just like William or Bill.
Leland and Gray versus Leland
When
and
you
Gray.
sign a legal
It's
document,
LNG.
this is when you're talking to your pals.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, anything else tonight? Other business? Other questions? Emily.
Talk with the attorney.
All right, so our next meeting is September 18th. There is also WCSU retreat on September 27th.
September 27th. If you did not receive an invitation, that is my oversight because I wanted every single board invited. It should be very nice. It's a very nice time at Mount Snow. And you will all be getting a nice little update from the district management group, which was our study that we had done on our struggling students across the WCSU. Our director of special education has done an analysis of the report and implications for our students through the lens of special education. And our director of curriculum has done an analysis on the lens of students that are not receiving special education and implications for the district as well.
Good.
So,
Great.
should be nice and informative. And it's a nice time to, have a beer, buy your friend a glass of wine. We're
There
gonna
you
have
go.
salmon, pesto, and chicken.
So did everyone on this board get that invitation? Because it says all boards, and so you were thinking that,
I think everybody got it, but I
Well,
need to check with
I may
Nancy to
have.
see if Nancy
Nancy-
got it, but
and
Nancy
Fiona.
doesn't check her Wyndham Central.
I do too.
and Fiona and Patty.
You would have gotten it to your Wyndham Central email,
So
so
I
if you
will
don't
check
check
it.
those,
You
you
did?
didn't
I did get
get
it.
it.
Oh, good, then we did.
I
Yeah.
haven't responded, but I got
Then Nancy
it.
got
Yeah.
it too.
All right, Nancy.
I will run right
Okay,
over
so
to
everybody's invited?
It was sent on the
Everybody's-
10th, August 10th.
Yeah.
August 10th, okay.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Mike is bored already.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and adjourned to
It's there.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Great job, guys.
All right, thank you, everybody.